Hi everybody, and welcome to Rapping with the Rep. These are the COVID-19 series of shows that we're doing to update you on the changing conditions of our government in its reaction to the current health crisis. While we are not en masse at the State House, the building is closed and many of the non-essential workers are not there. Your representatives and senators, such as myself, are continuing to work from home and continuing to do what we can to improve the lives of our residents while at the same time addressing the health crisis that confronts us. What I'll be doing on a regular basis, if not daily, then every other day, is taping a series of updates from my home, because like you, I will be staying at home to the extent I possibly can. So from there, I'll be giving you information on the latest news, on the latest issues that we're confronting. I'm going to start off each time with a short 2-minute clip from the CDC to remind everyone what you should be doing in this time of crisis, how important it is to keep your social distance, to wash, etc. And then we'll be right back at the end of this 2-minute clip to talk about the latest developments. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jay Butler, Deputy Director for Infectious Diseases at CDC. I'd like to talk to you about the new virus that causes the disease COVID-19. Older adults and people who have severe chronic medical conditions like heart, lung, or kidney disease, or diabetes may be at higher risk for severe illness from COVID-19. If you are one of the people at increased risk for serious COVID-19 illness, it's especially important for you to take action to reduce the risk of getting COVID-19 now. The first thing you can do is take care of your own health. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol if soap and water are not available. Cover your coughs or sneezes with a tissue, or cough or sneeze into your elbow, not your hands. Avoid contact with people who are sick. Clean and disinfect surfaces in your home, such as counters, tabletops, and doorknobs to remove germs. Use household cleaning sprays or wipes according to the label instructions. The next thing you can do is make a plan for what to do if you do get sick. Know who will take care of you if your caregiver gets sick. Talk to your healthcare provider about getting extra necessary medications to have on hand. Get enough supplies too, including enough household items and groceries so you can stay home for a few weeks if you have to. The third thing you can do is pay attention to what's happening locally. If COVID-19 is spreading in your community, stay home as much as possible and avoid crowds. If you get sick with fever, cough, or shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider. If you develop warning signs, such as difficulty breathing, persistent pain or pressure in your chest, confusion, or blueness of the lips or face, these may be signs of serious illness. Call 911. For more information and the latest resources, please visit cdc.gov/COVID-19 or call 1-800-CDC-INFO. That's 1-800-232-4636.
Hi folks, welcome to another episode of Rapping with the Rep. I'm State Representative Ken Gordon, recording here from my home office as we are social distancing and staying at home as much as possible. Thank you for the response that everybody has been pitching in with respect to this COVID-19 emergency. It's working. The evidence suggests that the increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in our area, as bad as it is not as bad as it is in other areas that maybe aren't quite as vigilant in respecting the social distancing order, respecting the orders that we wash our hands for 2 minutes whenever we go out, whenever we've touched anything, whenever we've coughed or sneezed or done anything like that. It's well worthwhile. These measures that we're taking are really burdensome. They're hard and they're frustrating, and people are really suffering through it. But
it really pales in comparison to what could be happening and what has happened in other countries that have not been as vigilant as we are here in Massachusetts right now. So I want to go over some of the things that are going on that affect us, some of the updates, and some of the ways that the government has been acting to try to minimize the effect that it's had, the negative effect it's had on our lives and our economy. And we have been working together. I want to start with some things that have just come out in Washington with respect to the Federal CARES Act and how that's going to affect us here. Some of it calls on us in Beacon Hill to respond with regulations and implementation. We've got to bring these rules into place. And I want to talk to you about some of those things. Now, one of the biggest issues that we get calls on is unemployment. Unfortunately, unemployment in this area, which had been very, very low, is now has spiked. So, and there's no secret why, and I don't think there's any surprise that the measures that we've taken in order to protect us from the health and safety issues involved with this, really this lethal virus, people have been dying. This is also having an effect on our economy. It's closed non-essential businesses. It's reduced business in the businesses. There's reduced activity in the businesses that are still open, and a lot of people have lost their jobs. So the federal government, in response to that, has created a lot more flexibility to the unemployment laws that they call upon the states to execute. So that we're clear, the unemployment system is one in which the federal government creates a lot of the rules and the state governments implement the rules. The state government collects the money that's used to distribute to the recipients through premiums that the businesses pay. And the federal government essentially backs that, so that if we go through a crisis like we're in now, like we were in 2008, states can approach the federal government for loans to replenish that fund that is used to pay UI. So I go into that too, so that you understand why what's happened now is the federal government has given us flexibility. We're going to accept that flexibility, create temporary forms to unemployment so that people who weren't otherwise eligible for unemployment benefits will now be eligible. So that would include people who are self-employed, people who are freelancers, and people in that area. Now, those regulations, we have to wait for the final regs from the feds, and then we'll put in place the final regs on our end. And so that should be done hopefully early next week, and you'll be able to go and apply for those benefits. You should go on there and try. It's a little bit difficult only because the number of people who are applying for benefits has exploded. And so there's a lot of traffic on the site. So try to do it at an off time, but you're well advised to go and try. Even if you've lost hours because of your employment, you can try there. Another benefit that's in the new law is that you can apply for unpaid sick leave, which is to say, if you have to stay home because you're quarantined, you can get paid through this system. You can apply that way once again the regs are in place. And another portion of it sort of replicates the Paid Family and Medical Leave Act that we did here in Massachusetts. That's not in effect yet. If it was, those benefits begin to be paid in January of 2021. But we could probably vote. I think the vote would be a positive one to add as an increased reason for coverage this current crisis under our law. But as it stands, the fund that would pay those benefits is not solvent yet. It wasn't intended to be. So instead, under this CARES Act, the parents who are required to be home to take care of a child who otherwise would have been in school can apply for wage replacement. It's partial wage replacement for up to 10 weeks. There are a lot of exceptions, and on the state level, we're going to be working to try to bridge those exceptions. For example, it's only for people who work for companies with 500 or fewer employees. So if you work for one of the big, the big chains, it may not apply to you, but it will help a number of people. So that's important. The other thing that's important of the federal bill, the CARES Act, that I'm sure you've seen, and most of you have seen, is that every individual uh, who files taxes will receive a check as long as their income is $75,000 or less as an individual. But even if they're 99,000 unless they get a smaller check. And for married couple, it's $150,000 is the ceiling. And if they make 199 or less, they get less. They'll get a check, but it'll just be less money. $1,200 or $2,400, and then $500 for a child who's 16 or under. Now, those they should start coming in very soon if you have direct deposit. One update to that provision is that if you are receiving Social Security and so therefore you don't file income taxes, you'll still get a check automatically. You don't have to do anything, and they will deposit that into the same place that your Social Security checks are going into. If you have a local business in the CARES Act, it's important that you take a look at those provisions because there are a number of loan opportunities that carry with it provisions so that they may not have to be repaid. They may, so please be careful. But some of the important provisions that I'm referring to is one is a payroll protection loan. So I know a number of business owners have told me that you don't want to lay off your workers. You want to protect their salaries. Business is low, however, and revenue is also low. Business is slow. What this will allow you to do is use the money to pay your the wages of your employees, not yourself, but of your employees. And if you retain the same number of employees as before this all started, then you can then you have loan forgiveness. Essentially, you can use the money to continue to pay your workers and not pay the loan back. There's a formula. You'll take a look at it, but that's the theory behind it. There's also, and so that's a payroll protection loan. There's an emergency loan provision in there that will provide not only for a low interest loan for businesses to be used for a more flexible reason to get through this crisis, but there's a $10,000 grant provision within that loan, which is to say that if you qualify as a small business for most purposes, there are some things that are excluded, but most everything is included. Then you may be eligible for a $10,000 grant to be used. You can pay your rent. You can pay any ongoing obligation with that $10,000 as long as you're a small business as defined by the SBA. And then there's another small business loan of a greater amount, which requires more qualification there, but you can go through the qualifying provisions of that. So that's what's going on the federal side directly that you should know about. On the state side, what we have been looking into are things like we have a bill that came through just recently that will protect people in their residence. It will protect people from evictions over the next 90 days, and it will protect mortgages over the next 90 days. So that if you have trouble paying your rent or your mortgage over the next 90 days, you'll get some time to do that. In addition to that, if you're paying, I think the way it would work is if you're paying a mortgage for a rental property, a property that you then rent out, if they're not paying you, you shouldn't have to be paying the mortgage and carrying the expenses of the unit until this ends. So there's some provision that will help. You can call our office with that. I'll pause for a moment because there's a lot of information to tell you that on our website, www.repkengordon.org, we've got this information. We've set up a tab called COVID-19. So go to the main page, the home page comes up, and I think there's a direction right there to go to our COVID-19 page. You can click it. And we will carry not only these updates, not only this show as an update, but also the updates that we get from the command center that was established by the governor on a daily basis. So you can see from that source information what's happening all the time. One update that will be coming through probably today, and today is April the 3rd, these things happen so fast, is that restaurants will soon be able to, as long as the governor signs this bill, and I have every reason to believe that he will, the restaurants will be able to sell a bottle of wine or two or beer with a takeout meal. That way, from the point of view of our consumers, our residents here, you won't have to go to both a liquor store and a restaurant if you want a bottle of wine with your dinner. It'll help the restaurants, obviously, because especially the ones that are not traditional takeout restaurants, they've been really struggling to get out there with and show people that they're open for the takeout and delivery business. So I think this will help them. A number of other provisions that have been passed are directed at helping our municipalities. In Burlington, you may know that town election was going to be tomorrow. It was put off because we passed a provision just really a few days ago that allows the municipalities the flexibility to do that. And here, in the midst of this physical distancing order, in the midst of the closure of non-essential businesses, it's really a lot to ask for municipalities to conduct town or city elections, and so this will give some relief for that. Also, we passed provisions that will allow for the postponement of town meeting. So I'm going to check my list here and see what else is on the list here. With respect to direct health care, I think that you all are aware that we've been challenged to find personal protective equipment, PPE. Our nurses, our doctors, our frontline workers, our first responders are out there every day working their hearts out to protect us and keep us healthy, but we don't have enough masks, gloves, gowns, and things like that, especially to satisfy what we call the surge that we think is coming. The number of people that in the next 2 weeks, we think, as we sort of go through that crest of instances or incidents of illness. So we have that. I think a lot of you may have seen it, and I'm saying that because I know that the folks here in Burlington stay up with information. But Robert Kraft was able to, or allowed the Commonwealth to use his plane. We picked up 1 million pieces of PPE, masks largely, and brought them back from China. They're distributed largely to Massachusetts, but we're sharing some of those items with New York and Rhode Island. And we also opened a facility in Somerville that will sterilize the material on a very rapid basis. That's really so significantly important, because if we can keep this material that's still good sterilized, then it will help us all staying healthy. The governor has closed essential businesses. Has closed non-essential businesses. That doesn't mean that there isn't a way for those owners of non-essential businesses to still do business. They just have to do it from home. They have to make an arrangement to not be a person-to-person connected type of a business. Some businesses have called me and they feel that they should be on that list for various reasons, and they've made some good arguments, but not everyone can be on there. And so if you can make an arrangement by which someone might drop off, if it's a repair shop, for example, and someone can drop off something to be repaired and you can repair it from home, something like that. I mean, you can still try to fit something in. And I think that is a way I might suggest thinking this through rather than trying to, or as you're trying to get on this list, if you don't get on this list. Again, it's difficult, and I realize that there are folks out there who have put their life savings into a business that's currently closed, and we can't give you a date by which it will be open again, because nobody knows when, for example, this surge will end and things will go back to the way we knew it, or whether they ever will go completely back to the way we knew it. That's what's going on Beacon Hill. That's what's going on to the extent that what happens in Washington is affecting us in Beacon Hill. Check back here from time to time for further updates. But I am State Representative Ken Gordon. Thank you for tuning back into Rapping with the Rep.